back, everyone. This is Seth Casposa, Black Earth Productions. Back now again with another segment that's been in the works to be developed. As the networks continue to expand and more people are coming into alignment with wanting to know the truth about reality, the truth about consciousness, what it means to be alive in our reality field at this time, and what the trajectory of what our destiny is as individuals and as mankind. In this segment, I'm also joined by another man who is a part of our inner circle that I want to introduce all of you to. His name is Maximus North, and it's been a long time coming for this one. So Maximus, it's good to have you on. What are some of the things that have been going on your end that you would like to get into with me, man?
I've been looking for the past few years into my father's side of ancestry, which goes into the Anglo-Saxon, Norse Germanic side. But recently I've been looking back into my mother's side, which is the Irish side, and the Ogham script. It's the Irish equivalent to the runes. It looks quite mathematical because they have tree lore, so each one of them relates to a certain tree. They have one for the yew tree, one for the ash tree, which are very important in the Norse cosmology. And they have the oak tree. The oak tree is the doorway, aligned to my astrological sign. So really put things in perspective for me. But they have got a few which do look very much like the runes. They're the ones what aren't the lines. They have like 5 of them were quite different. The oak tree in the Ogham, the doorway was something that the druids used for initiates to come through. And it was used as a symbol for initiation, because the doorway is the oak tree. That's why the oak tree was particularly very important to the druids.
The oak tree has everything to do with the true universal tree of life as well. See, what I've discovered with this whole dynamic is that pieces to a holistic, organic mechanism are fragmented that needs to be put back together. And there's specific path work given to specific cultures. And I see all of them as parts of a bigger whole.
Yeah. What you were saying about the Kabbalah thing, that's a perverted version.
With Kabbalah, it's not that tree, two-dimensional model of what people think is the tree of life. It comes to the ancient traditions that came out of the Middle fucking East, man.
Yeah.
That goes back to the fucking Gra, the pure system in context to everything else. A key component, which is part of the true universal tree, much like Yggdrasil is a key component. There are many components to the true universal tree of life. But see, this has never been put together, and this is what my path work in context to what we're talking about, unpacking this and bringing it all back together. It's going to take years to completely unfold. What Doth is actually intact.
Yeah.
Like it was
right
in the beginning. And see, with the other one, Doth is removed. The planetary sphere of Doth was Maldek. And I talk about Maldek. It's the knowledge of the true history of mankind, not just mankind, but fucking everything. And these motherfuckers attribute it to the abyss, when in truth, it's actually the gateway to the primordial fucking womb. So when you get into that quote unquote occult knowledge, that secret knowledge, you do get sucked into the Kapothian fucking gridworks, man. On the inverse with the Clipoth, that's what's happening with that tree. And so with how things work in the reality field, the reflections and projections, it's to take account everything that's happening within the unconscious, subconscious, man. That's the fucking abyss within us. But how do we connect to the primordial womb? Practicing drawing the circle and coming into alignment with the fulcrum, man.
Yeah.
Learning how to bridge this fucking shit instead of getting sucked in, man, because it's an inversion of the feminine power of creation, which gave birth to all the dark gods, man, and straight up fucking came out of the fucking Middle East in context to the Sumerian Draconian Empire. I just did a segment with Nikolai Jones, man, and he and I really broke shit the fuck down, man. So it's cool to be talking to you too, man. We've known each other for years and we've had some pretty powerful conversations. So Ogham is an actual stone as well, where all of these things are written. The Ogham stone. This goes back to the Tuatha.
Yeah, the Tuatha De Danann, yeah. They goes back to them. They say that it only started to arrive in the 5th century BC.
Yeah,
I think,
bullshit.
I think that's a load of bullshit. That's just what academia has put down, because they have this very ignorant idea of what actually history is, and they don't really understand it, and they think that humans only started writing at a certain particular time, and it's, it just is bullshit. But it's also like the whole thing of the whole round towers. That wasn't a Christian invention. That was the Druids invented them. The round towers in Ireland. Thomas Sheridan's done an interesting documentary on that. You go on his channel, he does an interesting documentary on the round towers, and he basically tells the history of them. This also relates to something I've been looking up into recently of the Lovecraft mythology. That's the Dark Gods. If you read his the mythos behind it, the long history of it, there's these aquatic humanoids in it, there's reptilian humanoids, and the reptilian humanoids had dwarfed the Homo sapiens.
All this shit's fucking real, man, but the real secret with it, you gotta have the fucking goddamn disposition to be able to fucking decode shit.
Yeah.
So going back now to the Ogham script. These were revealed by Ogma. Let's talk about Ogma here now for a little bit, going back to the Tuatha.
He's got a long tongue with hooks in it, with humans attached to it. It's not malevolent. It's basically just anyone can use their speech to... it's kind of hard to explain. His other name is Honeymouth.
I think it goes back to symbolism, revealing how mankind's been completely fucking hooked in on because of their fucking lack of mastering speech.
Yeah.
You speak it, you are encrypting that shit. Being in these temples, man, you didn't fucking speak. You didn't speak unless you know exactly what it is that you are saying. Being fully conscious, being fully self-aware, not allowing any sort of distortion to come forth out of the mouth. And see, this is very hard. There's nobody out there that is perfect. You could even take this back to he that can tame the tongue is a perfect man. Do you know anybody out there that's fucking perfect? I don't. And see, it's not about being perfect. It's about perfecting what we say. It's about perfecting what we evoke, because of what we are saying is coming from any sort of manipulated thought form or triggered out emotion. Then it can be very fucked up what is being encrypted. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I haven't fucked up in my life. I've definitely fucked up in my life. I've definitely said things I don't fucking mean out of fits of anger or frustration. You know how it goes. And I have to say this on here because I don't want anybody out there to think that I'm someone that has reached the level of total mastery of this. There's nobody out there. I swear to fucking God, man. And we all got to give it room because we're going to fuck up. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to say and do things we don't mean. Being blinded. But the key is to catch it. To make sure that when you reach a certain level, and there are individuals out there that have reached a certain level of strength and power within themselves, what we speak changes things. And this again goes back to the wizard. It goes back to the Galdr. And in order to be a Galdr, you have to be a master of your speech on a certain level. Going back to this even deeper, we are that fucking temple ourselves, man.
Also been looking a lot into a huge, massive book about the Jotuns. The Jotuns aren't just one type of Jotun, there's many different types. Earth Jotuns, there's ice Jotuns, there's fire Jotuns, there's sea Jotuns and stuff. And these are not the actual natural disasters themselves, but the forces that cause them. And not just natural disasters, but also, you could say, diseases. And it's very interesting that they have Jotuns actually can possess a pregnant woman so that their offspring will actually inherit certain Jotun-type blood.
Right, and everything you're saying about the Jotuns, the Jotuns are the giants that hail from Jotunheim. And like you said, there's many, many different kinds of Jotun. But in context to the Sumerian Draconian Empire, okay, with the fallen Anu, going back to what happened in the Middle East, which I was mentioning earlier. It has encrypted this distortion within the genome, within the consciousness input and output frequency. And real quick to solidify something, Thunar is half Jotun. He's half giant. And it's not to say that all of the Jotun are malevolent. In fact, most of them aren't. But in context to what we're talking about, go ahead and continue with what you were talking about, man. In context to malevolence having its effect here in our reality field.
This goes in for certain deformities people have. I always wondered about, like, why do people have physical, some people have physical deformities, but not just that, like mental disabilities or certain psychological.
It goes back to the insurgence of the old ones, man.
Yeah. And this even can relate to how, people have psychopathology and all this stuff like ADHD as well.
ADHD, as far as I'm concerned, has to do with the fact that the kids that they're diagnosing with this shit, they don't learn in the fashion that they're being forced into.
Yeah.
There's actually 4 different ways that we learn. And the way it's set up is in context to the 3rd way, but then they try to pigeonhole everyone into that fucking modality.
Yeah. That's why it didn't work for me when I went through the education system. I failed for me that way because I learned more from the right brain kind of way. Like I look at an image of something and then I kind of absorb that and I kind of learn from that. But also I can do it from reading as well, but it doesn't work just by reading. Yeah,
and other people, they're hands-on. They need to get their feet wet. They need to get fucking dirty.
What I was saying about the whole mild autism, which is labeled as Asperger's.
That's all fucking horse shit, man.
Yeah.
I don't buy these quote-unquote diagnoses given to us by these quote-unquote psychologists that have no fucking idea what the secrets of the universe actually fucking are, man. I worked with them.
Yeah.
I sat at table with them, man, and they could not fucking hang with me. That's why I ended up having to fucking leave this particular practice, because I had clients that did get better.
Mm-hmm.
I taught them certain fucking things that they weren't getting from these fucking psychiatrists. They would, pop in once a month just to fucking get credits, I actually gave a fuck and, poured myself into it. But I was working with people that were extremely fucking toxic.
Mm.
I changed my whole fucking strategy with what's unfolding, man. People that actually want to know, that actually want to heal, that actually want to get better.
Yeah. What I was going on to is that I looked into my own blood and I found the alpha blood in there, also the 250 blood. So the alpha Fae blood is in for me.
It's like the veils in between worlds, man. You step into a Fae portal within the blood itself, everyone. See, everything that we're getting into, you have to understand, once again, like I have said for years now, that all is within you. The universe is within you. Everything that we're talking about in context to blood. I also hold the Alpha Fae genome myself, along with many other things. We're not just one thing. We are all things here in Midgard. And when I say all things, I mean all things are present, but not everybody is navigating the same way. This is why getting into the art and science of gnosis, to know thyself, is so important, so that we can heal this. Portals of the Alpha.
I was reading about the Alpha today in the 2nd book of the series I'm reading, and it says that the Dark Alpha were originally Light Alpha, but they split into 2 factions, and now the Dark Alpha are going in Svartalfheim.
Right.
Nidvalir, which is the Dwarf sector of Svartalfheim, is a sub-realm of it, but the Dwarfs are separate from the Dark Alpha. But then there's also mixed blood, so there will be some of the Dark Alpha are mixed with the Dwarf slightly, so some Dark Alpha have Dwarf blood and some Dwarfs will have giant blood.
How do you see this actually playing out with mankind right now?
Well, what I see inside myself is that the Aesir want to keep a strong hierarchy. The old hierarchies are now collapsing. Aesir want to rebuild a new one. The Aesir are to do with hierarchy and order.
On the fucking polarity, they are.
Yeah.
That's the fucking distortion, man. Everyone's fucking dealing with it.
Yeah.
Odin even shared this with me. How things need to be recreated. As far as I'm concerned, that goes back to the manifestation of the wisdom councils here again. Because we're not just doing things where we are in physicality. We're doing things on a multidimensional level right now, having this conversation, man. So
what I'm trying to say is these are the kind of different paradigms which are in the different realms that want to manifest here. So the Vanir, they want to get back to a more environmentalist. They say screw the urban environments, just get back to working with agriculture, be using technology, but in a very environmental friendly type way, and be more communal and be more about just community. And that's the kind of one I'm mainly sympathetic to at the moment, is that the Vanir. And then you've got the Rukka, which say come completely individualistic to the extreme, go off into the woods somewhere, set up your own, camp somewhere, just say fuck to everyone else and just do what you want to do and live completely, absolutely free. A very ultra libertarian, anarchist way of seeing the world. So they're the three kind of...
And there's all these possibilities and probabilities. Okay, what are we going to choose? What are you choosing? What am I choosing? What is this person over here choosing? Everyone's going to be left with the result that they choose to focus their energy and intention and action into, man. And including the gods and goddesses themselves.
I mean, could all three manifest on this plane and still each other? Because obviously you look at in the past, you had the various philosophies politicized in society, and they've always tried to say this one is going to be the only one, we're not going to allow any other one to live side by side. I've even read this book recently called Letters from 500, and it talks about how basically in 500 years time everyone will live in a community which is suitable for them.
Yeah, and that's essentially what happened with certain individuals. For the most part though, people are fucking slaves, man. There's no sense of tribal community or a fucking code that you fucking live by and everyone's got each other's backs and all that.
Yeah.
Solipsism is running fucking rampant. And as far as hierarchy, that's all fucking old system bullshit. They're going to go down with it. At the time of the reset, we are at the fucking threshold now, passing through the gate.
The vast majority of humanity are too stupid and say they need to be ruled over. They need strong rulers to rule over them.
Yeah, I can see why a lot of people are clinging on to that, because it's like Michael Tsarion says, people want freedom from freedom. And it's not just stupidity. It's willful ignorance and apathy in the face of truth, which in turn is the definition of what evil represents. Denial. Mentorship and leadership is fucking necessary, man. And everybody is held accountable, because cosmic law, man, it breaches out into every fucking universe. Asgard is another universe. Muspelheim is another universe, man. Jotunheim is another universe. Midgard is our physical universe. So when people talk about Orion and Pleiades and stuff like that, that's Midgard, man.
Yeah. That's
happening here. And so in context to the original universe, man, every being, as far as I'm concerned, has been involved with the shit that's happening on the distortion, keyed into the antagonistic core. This is what's keeping us from the fucking real. It's keeping the gods and goddesses from the real as well. And in context to the Jotun, take it back to the fallen Anna, man. Take it back to Orion. Everything that came out of the Middle East, man. Look at what the fuck has happened. It all goes back to the cult of Mithras. And Mithras went to war with fucking Indra, man.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. For my Age of Aries document, I've been looking also into Egypt, Persia with Mithras. And
yeah. There were wars between Egypt and Samaria, and this was the time that the quote-unquote priesthood was taking the fuck over in Egypt. I have memory of those fucking wars, man. Nobody talks about this shit.
Yes, same with me. And also that translates into the temple force fighting rebellion against the Atonist. I was there as a warrior priest of Horus, fighting against the armies of Set in Egypt. That's where the first right-wing and left-wing brotherhoods were created. That's where the first dualism came out of Egypt.
Yeah, the betrayal took place in Saqqara. When they ripped open a fucking goddamn wormhole, that's when the betrayals took place among the brotherhoods, man, among the fucking councils. And this is going back fucking eons, dude. going back to the first and second seeding. Earth originally was a seed planet. Maldek was the original home here within the solar spiral. And when the cataclysms took place, that's when consciousness was fragmented. That's when all the worlds were ripped and torn to shreds, man. You could take it back to every fucking war. Take it back to the war between the Aesir and the Vanir. It says in the Voluspa that they made peace, man. Was the prophecy of the Seeress something that happened already, or is it something that's meant to come? So if we can catch it, like I talk about catching it, like fucking flaming arrows coming at your fucking head, then maybe we got a chance, man. But for the most part, humanity is completely fucked. They are wrong to want to try and fucking rule over them. They should be fucking showing them how to wake the fuck up. It's the same with every known being in the fucking universe and beyond, man. So I want to know a little bit more of what you're getting now with things.
What I've understood about the Norse cosmology and all the different races and tribes within it, every single one of them has good and evil within them. This idea that the Aesir are purely good and the oceans are purely evil is bullshit. That's a monotheistic, dualistic idea that we inherited during the Viking Age, when Christianity was starting to spread in ideas of dualism. And that dualism goes back to Zoroastrianism.
If you know the answer to this, what does the original animist tradition go back to in context to what was going on in the Middle East? What is their original tradition? It's not this shit that came out of Samaria.
No, it's not. The Middle East is very complex because it's been so overlaid of so many different things so many times. Europe has had that, but not to the extent of the Middle East. The Middle East was colonized first, and then it went up to Europe. So what you've got to understand is that these monotheistic religions, Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, are all overlaid. They have plagiarized certain animistic traditions into theirs. The Alpha or the fairies, for example. See, angels, they go back to the ancient Middle East as well, into their animistic traditions. Egypt had its animistic traditions, and the stuff what's found in all these monotheistic, dualistic religions, all these different entities, they were polarized in the collective mind of the Middle Eastern people to think these entities on one side are good, all these entities on one side are evil, but they actually all have good and evil within them, just like humans do. So the knowledge found in Zoroastrianism of all the law found in there, and Judaism and Christianity and Islam, is actually parts of their animistic, polytheistic law that has been plagiarized, monotheized, and dualized.
That's how they've manipulated the law of polarity, man.
Yeah.
Duality is not a fucking illusion. The way we become polarized is when we are indifferent with the darkness and the light that's there within us. When we come into fear with either or deny either, that's when the abyss fucking opens. Which again has nothing to do with the primordial womb. And in the ancient tradition of our ancestors, that has an unbroken tradition going into prehistory. And I'm talking about pre-Atlantis, pre-Egypt, pre-anything that people can fully wrap their minds around. Unbroken, unfucked with, going back to every single animist tradition in its purity, in alignment. It's the place that we need to get back to within ourselves, in context of blood codes, whatever kind of code you've got. I don't care really about any of that right now, because a lot of the old shit, it's done away with now. And things are coming back onto a timeline when the new mythos is going to be created. But it's not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's the mistake that most people make when they don't understand how things actually work. Truth always was. It just is, and it always will be. It will forever confirm with itself again and again and again and again. And in context to the primordial womb and what that really is, another way of saying this is the central sun. The central sun within yourself. Going back to denial now, though, which is the cause point for being polarized within yourself, disconnects you from the primordial womb. It disconnects you from the central sun. Everyone thinks that they're the right. For whatever angle they're looking at the goddamn situation from when everybody's fucking wrong for that? Where's the reconciliation? You know, for something to be actually true, it has to harmonize, man. And so all of this fucking bullshit as far as belief systems and fucking religions, man, it's fragments that they're fucking fighting over, saying, this is my fragment, how dare you fucking challenge it? Instead of going, oh wait, maybe you have something to add that's going to take me beyond my limited perception of what I think and have been fucking conditioned to perceive reality as. Does that make sense, man?
Yeah, that does. The reason why people get into these religions is because they find an identity in them. Yeah.
And the minute you start to homogenize everything on the inverse, not knowing the fucking difference of how to put it all together, that's when you have war.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, the dualism.
This all goes back to fucking Hyrule, dude. There's this parasympathetic spell cast, you know, Tyr. There's a sense of honor there with Tyr, right? That sense of honor, that sense of living by a code and actually teaching why. This is going to be the result. Boom, boom, boom. But, you know, with the insurgents of the old ones, man, it's just that state of mind. One thing I want to make very, very clear in this segment. I do not practice left-wing or right-wing brotherhood magic going back to Egypt or Atlantis. You can take that back to Hyrule in context to symbolism, consciousness, energy, vibration, and frequency. This is what the myth is. It teaches us the workings of how things are, with archetypes, not gods and goddesses to be worshipped or bowed down to or invoked. And I want to make it very, very clear again that what I am focused on is the original, in connection with the true core essence and the higher force, which I term creator source. You're not going to know the workings of anything that we are talking about in this segment until you know thyself, until you know how you operate as an individual. That is how things actually work. And I'm not going to take being misrepresented when I know who I am and what I'm connected to. As hard as it is for some people to maybe wrap their brains around this, all of us have our own eternal spirit and essence in connection to eternity that we need to be working with. Not with disembodied spirits that have tricked mankind. This is how they do mind control, playing upon the archetypes of the ancient ancestors, going all the way back to the beginning. In the beginning, symbolism and archetypes were used to know thyself. And the way that the Dark Ones have done it is by stealing this knowledge and then making religions out of it to play on those codes within the mind. And so now that you know the difference, again, I want to make very clear what I'm saying here. Everything that we are talking about is within us. Going back to what I was saying about consciousness, energy, frequency, and vibration. And the misrepresentations that come forth when I am misinterpreted by somebody else or other people that are still conditioned to that split, to that duality that happened back in Egypt. You have to understand, you are listening to a man that is transcended beyond all of it, farther than you can possibly imagine. And I still sit here in this reality field looking at what's going on, and I weep, just like the Norns, because I can see the unconscious intention being manipulated by all the things that we are working to break free from. We need to cleanse and purge and burn out all of the things that are keeping us from being connected, not only to our true core essence, but also one another. You think the ones that are in the places of the systems of domination and control want this to happen? No, they don't. And we have to see it for what it is. Anytime something comes up in an argument or something gets triggered out, see, it happens with me too. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't deal with things, you guys. But I know where it comes from, and I do everything I can to correct myself every single time. And with all the clouds and the mist of confusion, it is lifting. But you got to stop clinging on to Loki's boat. And in context to the symbolism I just mentioned, during Ragnarok, Loki's boat is made of human fingernails clinging on to all of the things that are keeping us in prison, that are keeping us in separation from ourselves and one another. The reason polarity exists is because people are in denial of their own fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
I just give me your take, man. I can keep ranting about shit. Give me some feedback with what I just shared with you, man. Please.
Well, not too long ago, I came in contact with another one of Loki's matrons called Angrboda. He's the basically mother of Fenrir, but she has like blood all over her hands and stuff like that. Because the rocker bit's always been a very conflicting experiences. Like I battled Surt, I battled Jormungandr, I battled Fenrir.
You have to be aware of the Wicked Witch, man.
Yeah.
The Wicked Witch is the most deadly of all deadly enemies. And see, with this energy specifically, it is targeted both men and women to create that divide and conquer. That is the energy of the abyss. The energy of the primordial womb brings things back into wholeness, brings things back into healing, brings things back into trajectory, where you step beyond being polarized within yourself. And from that place, the consciousness of the Wicked Witch has no power. And with the water of emotion being directed by the true core essence and the higher force from within, which is where we get our true magic from. That's when you can throw it onto any situation and watch that fucking cunt wither. And the way you gauge it is by testing whatever the fuck it is that comes into your field, man.
Yeah.
You got to test it. And see, the danger with it is when you get triggered out, not knowing the difference, and you're not testing the energy to see where it's actually coming from. That's the danger every single time. And nobody out there is perfect. But in this teaching, what has come to me is making me realize even deeper how I've been triggered. How I've allowed myself to be manipulated by not testing the energy. We all do it, you guys. But before I start pointing the finger at anybody else, like everybody else out there should, you should always check yourself. Check yourself first and test where the energy is coming from. Not allowing the emotional triggers to kick the fuck out, which then steals our magic, fuel lining it into the antagonistic core. This is what we have to stop, all of us within ourselves, and make connection back to the central sun. On this path, you got to test shit. It's not just a free-for-all. We got to master free will, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we become polarized. You know, a woman that's in alignment is going to know what the fuck I'm talking about, man, too.
Yeah.
She'd be a woman of wisdom, proper knowledge, and actually doing the real fucking work, man. And it's like I've said so many times in other segments, the divine feminine force has been the most targeted. And it is the consciousness of the Wicked Witch that is the cause point, the divide and conquer between men and women, especially between people that are meant to be in divine partnership with one another. There have been a lot of attacks lately that have taken place. I'm not going to get into all the details, but all of this is about to go out if we can catch it, of the true strength and power of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Because once that happens, that is when the door is sealed shut to the abyss. And then we are able to create the new mythos. And we'll set in place for generations to come another reminder of what happens when this is allowed. So, go back to what it says in the Voluspa. All evil women, hail Golvig.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what Michael Tessarion talks about in context to the female Illuminati. It's all fucking tied in, man. Everything. Done. And they know the power of the feminine force, man. This is what they hijacked. Who was the very first person they fucking targeted? Freya. You know what happened.
Yeah.
And that's what kicked off the first war. Because both the Aesir and the Vanir were in fear of not being able to be partakers of the primordial nectar. And this is the same war that keeps playing itself out again and again and again and again and again. You have to know why. This is why. You could take this back to the Vedas as well, in context of symbolism and archetypes, explaining what we're talking about here. And eventually, when the Aesir and the Vanir snapped out of it, that's when Odin and Freya came together. And Odin taught Freya the runes. And the runes, I want people to know this, the runes are cosmic law. There are many different pieces to cosmic law. When people want to know cosmic law, go watch my video, The Cosmic Law of Alchemy. And when Odin and Freya came together in harmony, again, this is symbolism. Freya taught Odin Seidr. And Seidr is the gift of the seeress. The seeress that can see past all of the layers, past all of the bullshit, because it's all vanity in the face of our inherent birthright as mankind. The only way to really verify if something's fucking real is to go there.
Yeah. And the Aesir and the Vanir once, and the Alfar and the Jotun as well, were once upon a time living on Midgard, but they fell back into their own realms because, like a lot of the,
that's very fucking interesting.
Yeah, so they were once on Midgard, but they fell back. I've
never heard anybody say that now.
Yeah, they fell back into their own realms because this realm here is too intense for them, and this realm is very dense, intense realm to be in, whereas the other realms are a bit more, it's a bit like, it's like us going underneath the water and holding our breath. You understand what I mean? They don't want to fully have to come into here because it is very dense. Midgard is the most hardest realm to actually live in out of all the 9.
Right, because the convergence happens here.
Yeah.
At the very center of the true universal tree of life, Midgard is right in the middle. Everything spirals out from here now. Yeah. And so, like I've said, we are in the highest realm that you could possibly be in. And we came here to master this fucking realm. We didn't come here to escape. And that's the attitude that people have to take with life. Life isn't something that happens to you. It's something that you take the fucking reins of, and then you carve your fucking path out. You encrypt what it is that you are meant to encrypt here. What are we encrypting, man? What are we intending? Is it in alignment? Or is it being driven by all this fucking old shit, man? It's the same cycles that just keep playing out over and over again, like I've talked about so many fucking times.
Well, at the moment, I think we're entering a conflict also between the two ages. The age of Pisces is the age of dualism, and it's also very much based on hierarchy. That's a very Piscean. The reason why is because the rulers keep the rest of the population in a dream. And what is Pisces? It's the sign of the dream, the dreamer. So we've been living under a dream for the last 2,000 years with the rulers on top, knowing that the dream is a dream and controlling us and just getting us to live this dream over and over again. And the age of Aquarius is the rejection of hierarchical collectivism. Not that we're not going to have communities and stuff, but it's going to be taking individual initiative within yourself to have your own autonomy and your own rulership over your own individual self. That's the age of Aquarius, and the information that's coming through.
It's important to recognize, and I've also talked about this as well, what Aquarius is trying to remind us of now is that we are the true technology.
Aquarius is also the humanitarian. It will be more about what's good for humanity rather than what's good for one particular ethnic or racial group. It's having its last kind of
Yeah.
hooks within.
It has to, man. It has to rise up out of our fucking templates.
Yeah.
Manifest itself for a short fucking time so that it can be burned in the fucking ethanol, man.
Yeah. But they want to hold on to that, and they want to hold on to the hierarchy and having rulers and dictators rule over them.
We're coming into the age of where we need to remember and learn how to rule ourselves, man.
Yeah.
You know, and this also entails putting yourself in the position to be held accountable. You got to be able to trust the people that do care about you. Being able to see past all of the things that are going on. It's like I said, you got to give it room. You got to fan that flame a little bit and allow it to come forth. All of that repressed, suppressed, unconscious, subconscious. And this is what I came to the conclusion with in my connection to the higher force after I burned through eons. And all we have to do is let go. Instead of allowing the shadow to be the dictator and the ruler within us. And that's the trick with the false ego. The false ego is not the same as ego, the will, being directed by the core essence in connection to the higher force.
Yeah. There's even people who think that there will be the greatest dictator ever. And it's like, wow, the fuck are you meant to be a leader without having done your shadow work? It's like,
right. Yep.
Never mind being a fucking ruler, which a leader and a ruler are two different things, by the way.
Mm.
A leader is someone who people look up to that person, and it's done naturally. You look for leaders and in different areas, of course, not just in one area. Rulers stand up on top of a podium and say to a massive collective, you've got to do this, 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 and this, and this, and they just all basically follow them like sheep. Back in the Piscean age, there was an excuse for that. People weren't well educated at all.
Yes, and this is why true education is so important. Self-education. Like it is now with everything that we are getting into. What I really like to do right now is encourage all of you to go ahead and meditate and reflect upon the things that have been spoken. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Seth Esposa, Maximus North, Black Earth Productions. We'll be right back. Okay, everyone, we are back now from the break. As we continue to reflect on the things that we've been touching upon, going back into what we were speaking about before the break.
In the Piscean Age, people weren't well educated at all. They didn't have the knowledge that we have now. That knowledge wasn't even available to them. For the last 2,000 years, we've been living in the age of Pisces. The time they had complete, absolute control of the globe has been the last 200 years. Because you've got to remember, they didn't conquer places which were remote, orchestrated by Rome. That's when it started, really.
And Rome, in context, all goes back to the cult of Mithras.
Yeah.
Which is Samaria. So you're talking about the Aesir being the ones that were building these fucking civilizations. No, it was the old ones that took the concepts of both the Aesir and the Vanir and then fucking did what they fucking did, man. And now we have civilization. Egypt, nobody can verify where Egypt actually came from. There's a way to tap into the records by going into the blood, man, going into these codes. And this is occult science that I don't hear anybody fucking talking about for the most part. The fucking Vatican has a library that stretches for 50 miles.
Yeah.
50 miles underground.
And that's not even all of the knowledge, because a lot of the knowledge got, destroyed during the burning of the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
And also in other parts of the world as well. That's just one example. There's also the Zadokim, which were the radical sect within Judaism who basically started early militant Christianity and basically went into the libraries of Alexandria, which just go and smash and burn down all the knowledge that was there. And these people were absolutely insane, and they just wanted to destroy everything. That's the sons of Zadok.
And Saul of Tarsus enacted that fucking shit.
Yeah.
A council member of the Dark Priesthood.
Yeah.
And he was also a citizen of Rome. And see, a lot of Christians out there, they want to dismiss this, not knowing the difference. I'm not going to get on Christianity and history, but I could spend hours of what I've come to know with all that, seeing the play out of everything still happening, keying people into the lower astral grid works.
Like I was saying, I was looking more into my Irish ancestry of the Druids, and it's kind of like there's this coming together of things where I'm realizing how all these things have very similar systems, but in their own unique way. Also, the connection between the Tuatha De Danann and the Alpha and the Vanir, and also the connection between the Fomrai and the Jotuns. The Fomrai were the first race on Ireland before the Tuatha De Danann, and then the Celts came in and mixed in with the Tuatha De Danann. And so the Irish people today are a mix of Tuatha De Danann and the Celts. They came from around the region called Gael, which the Romans invaded, which was basically now modern-day France, and also other parts of Europe as well. But that was the kind of centre where they were. But they moved up to Ireland when the Romans...
So what about Norway and Sweden and Finland and Denmark?
Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Germany, that was where the Alpha were. And Vanir came in, first wave from the Indo-European wave. And then the second wave was the Jotuns, the Aesir. And this is why National Socialism in Germany promoted the Aryan race, because they saw it as the Aesir race. And that's why that particular political system had very strong hierarchy and very strong rulership.
Well, let's get into that for a little bit, man, because they were going up against the Zionist faction.
Yeah.
It all goes back to the Sumerian Draconian Empire.
It's very interesting to say that. We've got to understand is the Ashkenazi is a mix of European, Hebrew, Middle Eastern blood. What you've got to understand is about the Jews, what we call them today. The word Jew was a word what Europeans gave for Hebrews in the diaspora within Europe. The ancient Hebrews were polytheistic originally, but they obviously, with the monotheization of the Middle East and the dualization, the religion of Judaism came out of that. And when they entered into Europe, they came a diaspora, and they were called the Jews, which was a European name given to diaspora Hebrews. Because they went away from their original homeland in the Middle East, they become parasitic to other European nations. They will admit this themselves.
Yeah, with all this in context, man, this goes back to the Talmud. It's fucking evil, man. I'm not going to get into all the details of that. But if people listening are knowledgeable about what we're talking about in context, they're going to know what the fucking Talmud is.
They will admit this themselves. They will say that the diaspora culture that they're in is parasitic. And so this is why anti-Semitism came about, because they would just go onto other people's lands.
I don't give a fuck what your fucking race is. If you're doing that, you're a piece of fucking shit.
Yeah, exactly. There's Hebrews I know who don't identify as Jews but identify as Hebrews, and they're saying what exactly you're saying. They're saying that's just being parasitic.
One thing about the Nazi Party, and I know this for a fucking fact, they were in alliance with the fucking Vatican.
Yeah.
And it was a war for world domination between the Teutonic Zionists and the fucking Vatican. And then we as humanity are caught in the fucking middle, polarized.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about we stop fucking going into the past and justifying bullshit and start to fucking focus on what we need to be creating now, knowing the fucking difference with all of these things. I swear to the gods, man, that none of this is going to change unless people catch what we're saying here. It's being routed out. And the way we route it out is by healing our systems, is by healing consciousness, taking a step back and looking within yourself to see how this is all playing out. It's really easy to see it out there, but do you see it within yourself? If everyone could look in the mirror and see it within themselves, they'd be able to gauge other people correctly. And people want to sympathize. I don't fucking have sympathy for the human race. And a lot of these people that come in the guise of truth, that call themselves empaths, are some of the most parasitic, vampiric motherfuckers on the face of the planet. The minute you fucking call them out on their fucking darkness, that's when the gnashing of teeth flying the fuck out, man.
The people who can't see the darkness within themselves, they haven't done any shadow work.
And it's every race, it's every tribe, it's everything that needs to fucking acknowledge what we are talking about right now.
They call themselves empaths to basically build up their narcissism. They're just
right, but you can see the play out of the programming still embedded within the consciousness, man.
Yeah.
It's different when you can put yourself in the hot seat and allow yourself to be corrected and own up to your shit. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You got to do it for you. You got to sacrifice yourself unto yourself. Sacrifice the lower you for attaining the higher. This is the true magical path right here. This is the way we come into self-mastery. This is the way we come into mastering our destiny. And the heart wrenches and it squeezes and it grinds and it screams. And it is that pain within the darkness that the true gift we are seeking reveals itself to us. You got to put pressure and force on something for it to blossom into the lotus. The seed must die first before it takes root. And nobody is striking the root of evil. Everybody's hacking at the fucking branches. The root of it goes back to disassociation with the core essence in connection to eternity. This has nothing to do with religion. This is everything that religion has inverted and perverted. Keeping people in fucking kindergarten, waiting for somebody to come do it. But this is where we achieve victory. First within ourselves and then with one another. And we must allow the proper knowledge and wisdom of the high priestess so that the magician will know how to work correctly. And again, this is the positive and negative charge of the energy force, taking it back to the tarot, which is the true Torah. The true Torah is the tarot, not what they threw out there when the Council of Nicaea made that book called the Bible. In the context to the tarot, the high priestess and the magician, without direction by the higher force itself, all is vanity. In the context to the symbolism and archetypes of the tarot, this is the white wolf. And every race, tribe, and culture has their animist tradition, taking it back to everything that I just said, going into prehistory, taking things back to the original. That is what we need to get access to, and we got to stop fucking fighting over fucking scraps. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same play out of the war between the Aesir and the Vanir for fucking infinity. And that's the mathematics of the triangulation. The way we access the portal is when we come into alignment within the fulcrum of the circle of the magician, man. And so this knowledge, the knowledge of the secrets of the fucking universe, is made available with the mystery school that's been created. And you know what the fuck is up. Yeah. I want things to expand. I want this shit to fucking explode. At the same time, though, everybody that's involved is going to be tested. Yeah. And we have to be held accountable, and we can't just do whatever we want, abusing the gift of free will. We have to master free will. We've been given this gift. What are we actually going to do with it? Because the natural law of cause and effect is always at play. And like you were talking about, 3,500 years ago, keeping the masses fucking ignorant. It's still the fucking same. But initiation into this happens by the higher force itself. Then the vibrational correspondence starts to come into alignment, and then the door of the oak tree fucking opens. It might even rip and tear your life to fucking pieces. I know it did for me, man.
Yeah, it did me back in 2010. That's when things just my life changed forever. And I can never go back from that.
Yeah, because you're raising up in frequency.
Yeah.
And the higher you go up the mountain of self-mastery, it's a hard path, but we're not alone. Working through these things and healing and awakening, this is all a part of the initiation.
Yeah.
Eventually, things are going to come together. The level and caliber of the conversation we're having, we are all on a very unique path, man.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way.
I think also the passion has to be there for this, because if you just see it as some sort of hobby, then it's not going to. And that's what kind of always drives me to learn all these things, because I'm learning the new things about this every single day. They might have one book on their shelf about, whereas I have a whole fucking library.
Yeah, and everybody is where they are.
Yeah,
on their journey, man. I got to be fucking patient because, listen, knowing what I know, what's been revealed to me, man, people, they're gonna have to catch the fuck up, man. And this is why I think a lot of us that are in the position as way showers have to hold patience. As leaders, we have to hold patience as mentors. That's a part of our test. It's like I talk about, everything in the universe is energy, frequency, vibration, and consciousness. Everybody's still healing through shit. Everybody still has stuff that they're dealing with. Fuck it. Why do we make such a big deal about the problem? What's the solution? And if we do that, then we'll be in alignment. And the gods and goddesses will see there are humans that actually fucking get it. In Midgard, we can see everything, potentially. If there's no grid work, I'm not fucking connected to, man. I don't like having to know a lot of the things that I fucking know about stuff. Most of it, I wish it wasn't fucking real. But what I know beyond the bullshit is so fucking real. That's what keeps me going, dude. That's it, because I'm not inspired by most of the fucking shit that I see out there. It's absolutely fucking dead and wilted and fucking uninspired, man. You need to enact that fucking goddamn fire of Ganundagat so that those waters can pour forth, man. Heal the fucking land from the inside out.
You remind me of a dream I had not too long ago. I was in this house, which was very kind of heated inside the house. And there was this very beautiful Middle Eastern woman there who was wearing long red robes and gold around her neck. And I went up to her and she opened this door. She started doing magic before she opened the door and stuff, and there was fireworks coming out of her hands and stuff. She opened the door and I ran out and I shapeshifted into a wolf. And it was outside, it was completely snowing and freezing cold. And at the same time, she projected these fireworks towards me, which were in the shape of some bird, and that was the dream ended. See, it was a coming together of fire and ice in a way.
All of these things are within us. Everything. Humanity needs to realize that we are everything. We're not fucking slaves. If you operate on that slave state of mind, you're fucked. And so we have to rise above the gods, man.
Yeah.
We have to rise above the manipulation. This is what they are fucking waiting for. And some of the alpha are here trying to bring this message forth. I have those genetics, man. I fucking know this shit. And so the inner dwarves have been forging furiously within me, man.
The dwarves also represent forging of inner weaponry and armor, because they're the forgers of our own astral armor and weaponry.
And so when I say my dwarves have been really fucking active lately, it's because I'm forging this vision, man. I may be where I am right now, but what I see within me is powerful, man. It's not a fucking agenda. We all end up learning to remember what our fucking destinies are, and we fucking do it. That's it. In context to that soul desire. And this is what the higher force also has shown me, that it wants us to reach our greatest potential. But we can't do that acting like fucking slaves, acting like everything out there in the world is evil except yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can't see your potential for the ultimate fucking evil, then you are in fucking denial. Yeah. And it will come to fucking haunt your ass. It will eventually track you the fuck down and fucking devour you. If you don't acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge it. People that walk around all the time acting like their shit don't fucking stink. You gotta own up to it, like we've been talking about in this segment. And so that's why I encourage healing. Healing's number one. Because that's how we really win this fucking war. We have to heal. You don't go and fight on the terms of the Dark Ones. If you fight on their terms, if you fight according to what they have laid out in manipulation, you're fucking fucked, man. We got to be able to break the rules of this matrix and learn how to encrypt what's meant to be encrypted.
Yeah.
And that first starts with you. That first starts with me. That first starts with whoever the fuck actually cares about these sorts of things.
Yeah. After
we do that for real, then we could start coming together. And then it's already happening. We wouldn't be having this conversation otherwise, man. But I want you to talk a little bit more about what you wanted to get into with me, man. With what's being shown to you with the Druids and the ancient Nordic shamans and the Galdr.
The Druids existed when the Tuatha De Danann were there. And this whole idea that they just originally came from the Celts, even though they did also have their Druids. The Druids were in Ireland long before the Celts came in.
Okay. What I want to ask you now real quick, where do the Tuatha hail from, man?
In the Norse cosmology, they hail from Alfheim, but they came into Ireland on what was described as long boats onto Ireland. The Alpha, they're the Fae, the Alpha, the Tuatha, but they were a particular tribe of the Alpha, which came into Ireland. The other tribe of Alpha went into Scandinavia in that region. And then there's the Dark Alpha, which split from the other Alpha and became the Dark Alpha. There's tribes of Alpha, so within the race of Alpha.
Right.
So there was been an Alpha that would go to Scandinavia, and they were slightly different in appearance because the Alpha that went to Scandinavia had blue eyes and bright blonde hair, whereas the Tuatha De Danann that went to Ireland had red hair and green eyes.
Okay.
And the dark Alpha, which split from the Alpha which was in Scandinavia, basically had created an inverted form of sorcery. They had disagreements with the original Alpha, so they just became another tribe of Alpha. Okay.
I'm looking at some knowledge that has come to me, man. The Tuatha De Danann are one of the three Tuatha tribes. The other two are the Tuatha De Domhain and the Tuatha De Burnman.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting what you're saying, man, because when I got this shared with me, I saw it as a major fragment coming back into trajectory, and now you are confirming this.
Yeah.
So share with me a little bit more.
There was the Alpha there and the Tuatha De Danann, which came to Ireland, but there was also wars between them as well, but they also shared them, the Tuatha De Danann shared them their magic. This is still even practiced by today by some of the older generations who live in Ireland today, and out very far out in the countryside. Know about the Fae, and they know they're 100% real. The Fae, the Tuatha De Danann was sent underground, but what that actually means is sent to the other dimension.
Right, and the real secret with that is all about going within.
They made an agreement that they would go into the other realm and leave the Celts, who were basically mixed with them anyway, so they have Tuatha blood in them to basically live on Midgard and Ireland.
So go back to the group that went into Scandinavia real quick and share a little bit more of what's been revealed to you, man.
Well, in Scandinavia, there was also the Fomrai, who were the race before the Tuatha went to Ireland. So the Fomrai are a type of sea Eton, which came out of the sea onto Ireland, and then basically formed also into earth Ettons, because when an Eton goes into a particular environment, they evolve to that environment. So a fire Eton would be around fire. Frost first would be in the polar regions and very much placed in ice, but would migrate slightly to the south in the winters. So what you've got to understand is the Fomrai, they can adapt very quickly to different environments. Alpha and the Jotuns, which were in Scandinavia before the Vanir and the Aesir came over, they had maybe some conflicts as well. But the Alpha were in Scandinavia. Not actually much is like recorded about them in the lore or anything, but they also mixed in heavily with the Vanir when they came over. And that's where the magic comes from, of Freya, of Saber, comes originally from the Alpha. Then they mixed in with the Vanir, what came over, and that passed on from the Vanir, which mixed in with the Aesir, and that's where the whole Saber, the Galdr, comes from.
With what's been revealed to me, both were present, but they hadn't found the reconciliation.
Yeah, that's it.
Because of what the fuck has happened. You talk about the Dark Alpha, right? Yeah. And it's very interesting getting into the history of our people, especially during the fucking Viking Age, man. Yeah. It was very fucking dark and very fucked up.
That's when the Dark Alpha, the Saber of that time, were infected by the Dark Alpha's sorcery, which was an inversion of Saber. And that
makes total sense, man. Yep.
The Viking Age. And that's why they had the blood sacrifices and stuff of like animals and even humans sometimes. So back then it would have been more, if you were an average person, you were less likely to be sacrificed than someone who was up in the, more nobility or the aristocracy.
Yeah, it all goes back to the systems of domination and control. Because the infection, the parasympathetic bullshit. So it's very interesting what you're saying, man. I find it to be very valid and confirmation, man.
Getting even into the dwarfs or the Duergar were always underground, so they never actually came up to the surface. They don't actually like being disturbed by entities. That's what Elrond says about the dwarfs, and that's true. That's what the dwarfs are like. They don't like to basically get involved with anything other than, just working on what they're working on.
Sure.
And so they keep ignorant. So that's the problem they have. They always have kept very ignorant to all this and just allow this things on the surface.
Right, but see, even the dwarves were infected.
Yeah.
King under the mountain.
Yeah.
Right.
Gold. What was that dragon?
And that's Golveg, man.
Yeah. And it's also a myth in the Norse lore that one of the dwarfs turns into a dragon called Fafnir.
Right. Yeah, and that's actually where Tolkien got his idea for Smaug.
Yeah, Smaug. So that's lust for gold, basically materialism.
Yep. In context.
And like what I've said in a lot of my videos on my channel, is that for the last 200 years, we've been very materialistic. Because obviously, before the last 200 years, most people didn't have hardly any materialism, especially for a lot of the Piscean age.
Yeah, we honestly live like kings nowadays compared to
that's what I'm saying. So this kind of like lust for materialism has come, and it's not like saying having material things is a bad thing or anything. And when you're just focused on money and material wealth, which is here in the West due to the economics, that has really kind of driven things into this.
Capitalism is actually a very good fucking system, but it doesn't give room for greed.
Yeah. It's corporate capitalism, which is the capitalism we have now, which is when it's very hard to start small businesses due to, corporate.
Yeah, it's like grassroots.
Yeah.
And everybody has what they need to be able to focus on their passion and what they want to fucking build. And
that's what you're talking about as anarcho-capitalism, which is different from corporate capitalism.
Yeah, fuck the corporation. Corporatism is fucking slavery, man.
Yeah.
I'm not down with democratic fucking socialism. What I am all about and what I am focused on is spiritual self-mastery in alignment with your fucking destiny.
These solutions aren't going to come from a political, economical solution.
No, they're not. They're going to come from the wisdom councils that are meant to be reinstated again.
Yeah. And from that, everything else will just sort its way out for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and if people can't listen to fucking reason, they're going to be left with what they create.
Yeah.
And so we have to master this gift.
Mm-hmm.
We have to master this gift that we've been given called life. We came here to master this shit, and we came here to live and create in co-creation, knowing who the fuck we are, knowing what our potentials are. But see, these things aren't explained. These things aren't taught. These things aren't even fucking talked about for the most part.
Yeah.
People just want to argue the fucking problem in that feedback loop, in that Hegelian dialectic that is never going to change.
Yeah.
It will never change. It will never be reformed. The only way it's going to fucking end up devouring itself is if people walk the fuck away.
Yeah.
And wake the fuck up and really realize what's going on and study the fucking occult. And for anybody out there listening that still has a problem with that word, again, the word occult means hidden knowledge, the knowledge and the secrets to the inner kingdom, as within, as without. Turn off the TV and get into the fucking codes. That's where the real occult knowledge is accessed, man.
Yeah.
This is what the true magician knows. Not that left-wing, right-wing brotherhood bullshit going back to Atlantis and Egypt, to which the timeline now has been collapsed back into trajectory of the original. And anybody out there that chooses to still go along with that and is no longer going to work for what is coming, which I've been talking about for years now, with everything that has been exposed on Black Earth Productions, which cannot be refuted. I have to end this segment now, Maximus, but I am very glad that you messaged me and that we did this together. Hopefully the audience who's listening is going to be able to catch a lot of the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
If people want to get a hold of you, please share with us now.
You go to YouTube and type in Valkyrie. If you type in Valkyrie shamanism into the search engine, and you see this logo, which is a white Valken, that's the best way to get. And you can email me at elementa6@hotmail.com. So that's Elementa, that's spelled ELEMENTER6@hotmail.com.
Awesome, man. I really enjoy our conversations, man. You know what the fuck is up. I want to keep this going with you, man.
Yeah. Talk to you later. Bye.
Okay. Definitely go check out Maximus North, his Falcon Eye YouTube channel. There's a lot of very interesting things that he has presented. His consciousness continues to expand as all of us continue to heal and cleanse and purge out the distortions. If anybody out there wants a real initiation into the knowledge that's going to help you to be able to discover who you are, what the trajectory of your destiny is, how to heal, and to become empowered in a way that is going to put you in alignment with proper knowledge and wisdom, check out our website at blackearthproductions.com. Go over to our services page and send me an email at blackearthproductions@hotmail.com. Please go back onto Black Earth Productions and check out the other videos, and make sure that your field is fortified, especially now with all the things that are unfolding, going to the next levels. And I want to make a note really, really quick that I am no longer going to be focusing on just magic, but going deeper into the healing arts, revealing more of the knowledge that has come to me, and also getting deeper into the true history of what has happened and where things are meant to go. So for anyone that has the ear to hear, I'll be speaking with you soon.